Hemp House is celebrating 420 early, and they're doing it big. Join them Saturday, April 19th for the first annual 420 Northeast Block Party. That's right outside their brand new Northeast Minneapolis shop. It's an all-day event, 21 plus, from 12 to 6 p.m. It's a full-on celebration of community, cannabis, and culture. Get free samples from 15 of Minneapolis' top THC drink makers. That's Trail Magic, Kite Soda, and Insight Brewing. Watch a bracket-style street skate showdown sponsored by After Hours Skate Shop. Munch on exclusive dishes from Rectangle Pizza, Herbivorous Butcher, and a custom THC-infused sundae by Bebe, Zito, and No Coast. That's No Coast Wellness. Shout out to Cody. VIPs get a gift bag loaded with local goodies, a tasting glass, and a limited edition koozie. It's fly. I saw it. Nathan showed it to me. Plus, grab exclusive merch like the Hemp House After Hours Skate Deck for only $42, and there's only 42 made. Don't sleep on this. It's all going down 12 to 6 p.m., April 19th, rain or shine. Tickets are at hemphouse.co. Early bird pricing won't last. You can learn more about the event at www.hemphouse.co.
Today's episode of Northern Lights is presented by North Star Law Group, a trusted partner for small businesses in Minnesota's legal cannabis industry. Whether you've already applied for a license or just getting started, attorney Jen Riza and her team can help you build a compliant business, identify and navigate risks, put together an application, and keep you informed about the ever-changing Minnesota cannabis landscape. Are you ready to add North Star to your team? Visit northstarlaw.com/cannabis and let North Star Law Group guide you through confidently opening your doors. Again, that's northstarlaw.com/cannabis. Keeping track of your grow doesn't have to be a hassle. Meet Plant Track. That's PLNTRK, a tool built by Minnesota growers for growers like you. Track every stage of your plant with intuitive progress bars for each phase. Stay on top of your grow with text reminders for watering, feeding, and photos. And when it's time to log data, it couldn't be easier. Just scan a QR code or tap an NFC tag to instantly access your plant's details and updates. You can even log your interactions for one or all your plants in just seconds. Ask detailed questions with the AI chat powered by your plant's data and get the help that you need when you need it. It's free for up to 8 plants. Go to www.plntrk.com now and start tracking your grow. Are you a social equity applicant trying to save money on LED grow lights? Then here's some good news for you. You could get up to 75% off your lighting project, covered entirely by rebates, when you team up with a local nonprofit, Center for Energy and Environment. Since 2000, CEE has provided free energy consulting to Xcel Energy customers throughout Minnesota. Their team of lighting experts will help you get the highest rebates possible and take care of the paperwork so you don't have to. Starting a grow operation can be overwhelming, so take advantage of this free support from CEE. Go to mncee.org/GrowLED to sign up for your free consultation and find out how much you can save with lighting rebates. Again, that's mncee.org/GrowLED. Go get signed up today.
Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 27 of the Northern Lights Podcast. I'm your host, Steve, joined today by Clem, special guest host. How are you, Doc?
Doing pretty good. Glad to be back.
Good to have producer Jordan in the house as well. What up, Jordan?
Boom, boom, boom. Here we are, another Friday.
Yeah, we got Doc Dabbs filling in for Tanner today. We're going to talk some news. We're going to talk some events. Got a special guest interview with Stefanie Mulrooney from Balanced and Global Organics and part owner of Yuki Yohai. We got the Yuki Yohai candle blowing in the background here. And big shout out to Steph for coming by. What'd you think of the interview?
Well, first, the candle is super eucalyptus-y, which I love. I'm a big fan. It's very calming, very...
It's definitely setting the vibes.
Yeah, like it's really it's bringing the zen to the Zen Den.
The Zen Den. Here we are. Shout out to Dabbler Depot Studios. Doobie Dabbler coming soon.
When is that?
September, is it 6th?
6th and 5th.
Fifth
But
and sixth.
in the order, it would be September.
Go to the 5th Doobie Dabbler and then go to the 6th. Go to the first day and then the second day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Seavers Fall Festival.
that's the place.
Word. Clem, what have you been up to?
Today I had a guest lecture for a UMD pharmacy class.
So you were a guest lecturer for a curriculum or like a semester-long class?
Yep. So they're like, I think it's like critical conversations in pharmacy, and then they talk about one of their sections is on cannabis. They invited me to come.
What did you think of the experience?
It's cool. I've done this a few times. I think I've done it since they started doing the class.
Okay.
So I think this is they do it every semester. So I think this is my 4th time now.
So how many different colleges have you been able to lecture at now as a guest?
Just University of Minnesota and University of Minnesota Duluth.
Okay. We gotta get back to St. Thomas.
I know. I've been at St. Thomas too.
Okay,
as
I was
well.
gonna say. You probably,
I was thinking after my PhD. During my PhD, I did an alcohol, drugs, and behavior course two or three times for St.
okay.
Thomas.
Yeah. I haven't been back in a while, but
Shout out Dr. Pritchard.
hey. Shout out Dr. Pritchard. Well, we're here today, season 2, episode 27. Let's jump into the news. Let's talk about the cannabis omnibus bill and the rules that are being adopted. So by the time folks are hearing this, the rules have gone into effect. They're scheduled to go into effect on Monday. I believe Curtis Hanna was the first person to find the rules from the ALP judge or something like that. Have you had a chance to look over the rules, and what are you feeling? What are you seeing with the rules that have been adopted now?
I've been looking over a little bit. I haven't done a thorough deep dive yet. I haven't had a chance open to this weekend, but I think the one big thorn I think that's sticking out for everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people, is the 60-gram testing submission.
Right.
So if you're growing rosin, 60 grams of rosin is vastly more expensive than 60 grams of flour.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, if you look at what a gram of rosin might cost you on the retail level, you're looking at, what is that, at least 40, 50?
40 to $100 depending on quality.
$40 to $100. You multiply that by 60. That's the retail loss that you would expect. And for craft rosin extractors like Firebeards, for example, that's way too much for him to just part with as part of his business model. Now, from a rules standpoint, that was not clear. That there was no intent shown when we were pushing back against the 70% requirement or the cap. And so for them to now come out and say, okay, we'll give you 80% cap. And we didn't tell you this, but when you do want to go get your product tested in order to sell it on the retail above ground market, you're going to need to hand over 60 grams worth of rosin or extract. That seems intentional. That seems intentionally damning.
It does, yeah, and not very well thought out. So I was talking to Jabari Bird. He's an operator in Virginia.
Okay.
And they had a very similar problem at the start of their state's marketplace.
Okay.
Which was, they had to submit 100 grams of sample.
Wow.
At the beginning of their program, and then that number quickly changed to 2 grams.
Just down to 2.
Yep. So it's just I think, you just talked about it. This rule came out of left field.
Yeah.
It wasn't in either of the iterations of the draft rules before it. And who influenced this rule to get in there? That's a good question. And the best question is why?
Why?
What testing lab? Even Legend right now, if I wanted to test some hemp distillate or a cart, I'm not submitting 60 grams of material. And what is Legend? Legend's the state testing lab.
Right. Legend Technical Services. So from an operator standpoint, as somebody who's made rosin before, could the variance within the sticky solution be so varied that you would need to submit that much rosin to show that overall that this is not testing high in some points and testing low in other points? If Virginia was able to bring it down to 2 grams, then they were able to show that, hey, this batch is this batch, and you don't need an exorbitant amount of rosin to test and showcase that this is what it is.
Yeah. I just don't think. Yeah, it's clearly not well thought out because one, you don't need. There's not that discrepancy in that sample.
Okay.
Like for some of these like lower milligram products in like a beverage.
Yeah.
Oftentimes these producers of beverages are submitting multiple samples and choosing that best test because it's like a cloud density dispersion because it's an emulsion. It's not truly water soluble.
What they'll do as they're canning is they'll take one can from the beginning of the canning process, one can from the middle of the canning process, one can from the end. So that way within the vat, they're pulling from different points of the overall solution. But that's a different way to test, or that's a different way to put THC into a product.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not like this oil. There's not going to be that much discrepancy in the oil that you need 60 grams, nor on the testing side. Like, you're not loading 60 grams into a column on an HPLC.
Okay.
Like,
right.
That, like, even, you're probably loading a fraction of a single gram.
Of a single gram.
Of a single gram. It's dissolved in a solvent, and they load it into the column. Like, I've run a GCN HPLC while I was at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Never did I ever run 60 grams of material a single time. Yeah. And like 60 grams of material would have been, over 100 reps for the stuff we're doing.
And so that was kind of my next question is what is, in this case, Legend Technical Services going to be doing with the 59 point however many remaining grams that are sitting outside the HPLC waiting to get tested? And you're saying to work through 60 grams, you're going to be essentially pulling 100 samples, 100 batch samples.
Yeah. And like, why would you do that on a cost perspective? Why would you ever do that? Like, how many tests do they have to run? How much solvent and materials are they working through? How many man hours is it? Because, oftentimes a like modern HPLC machine has a little robot. You like program it, you put the samples in there, it'll pick up the sample, run it on the column. When it's done, it will go and get the next one.
Okay.
But it's it's not that high throughput where you're going to test 100 samples off of a single batch.
And Legend, for this example, or a Phyto Labs, whoever comes on board for testing in the adult use market, there's a cost to running 100 reps. And so that's going to get passed on to the micro business licensee, and then that'll eventually get passed on to the consumer. And it's putting some weight on the scale that negatively affects the market prior to us even getting started.
Yep.
And it seems like a sneak attack. It seems like to the micro license holders that are looking to be super craft, high potency, small batch. And you can't say, yes, we want a craft market, and you need to provide 60 grams of rosin for testing purposes.
Exactly.
Okay. Which is why we need to band together this summer and find ways to get better representation at the Capitol so that come next legislative session, we can push back and pull down some of these obtuse requirements that are affecting just, I would say, future business holders, but really just like it's going to shift the identity of the market if we're not able to have small craft rosin producers selling product at dispensaries.
Yeah, because I think Minnesota created this very unique bill that was focused on the craft industry.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to support that, the rules of the system also need to support that. Because like the law is one thing. Like this is like a many peeled onion. It's like many layers of the onion. You've got HF 100. You've got these rules that we're talking about. We've got local ordinances. And it's just like, we all need to be on the same page so we can maintain this craft industry. Because I'm going to start sounding like a conspiracy theorist, but where did this come from?
Right. Who is the OCM listening to when it came to this recommendation? And I think where folks are getting frustrated and have been for some time is they're often making decisions that aren't fully in line with HF 100. So they're trying to put their own sauce on and are already a spicy bill, and so as a guy who makes spices and seasonings, it's like too many cooks in the kitchen right now, too many ingredients, like overcomplicating at the micro level. So it lends itself to say, well, what's the opposite of a micro? Who can afford to provide 60 grams worth of samples. And then you start to wonder where that influence is coming from.
Yep.
Okay. Well, take your time. Take your time building your business. Don't jump into it too soon, because it seems like a lot of things are weighted against you right now.
Yep. And I think that we also have to keep a lookout on this cannabis omnibus bill. It's like, what is going to get snuck into that?
Yes.
So I would say that if you're in the industry, or even if you're just a connoisseur and you support your friends who are in the industry, is like,
yeah,
now is the time to make sure to continue to reaching out to your lawmakers, finding out those people in power. You know, we've got Dibble, Stevenson, West right now is being a player.
Yep, Senator Dibble, Representative West, Representative Stevenson.
So it's just like making sure to reach out to these people, as well as your own congressperson and senator, just to stay on top of this, because like they're going to sneak in some fuckery into this omnibus bill.
Yeah, maybe even unknowingly, right? I mean, it just depends on who they listen to. So we got some news about the lottery like late last Friday. So right as we were done recording episode 26, we're now on episode 27. And from your perspective, how did you interpret the news of this lottery potentially coming back on for the pre-approved social equity applicants? Now, there is a chance that it gets dismissed and that it doesn't actually end up happening. You, as I recall, cured your application over the winter time and then resubmitted in the new, the most recent social equity application phase. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so on the March 14th date, the social equity applications were finalized, and then the general applications were finalized. But there was a group of folks that were pre-approved back in November.
Yep.
And the goal was to have a lottery by the end of last year. That got withdrawn. And then some folks they kept their application in the hat. Other folks said, I'm going to take this back. I'm going to adjust my license type, or I'm going to resubmit. And so now it feels like we have all these potential lotteries that may or may not happen.
Yep.
Well, we think that there will be at least one general lottery, one social equity lottery. Will there be a pre-approved lottery as well? That's kind of the question that the news and the OCM is working through.
What seems like, as we were kind of talking about off camera, is that, Tabo made the statement that the OCM is not recommending this lottery.
Correct.
Because I think that if they went ahead, like you were just saying, there were some people who got approved in that first lottery. It got canceled due to litigation, and then they pulled their ticket out of the hat and reapplied to maybe a Mazo, or maybe they just want to do cultivator instead of whatever. They changed their decision.
Yep, they got their money back. They changed their mind.
If they host this lottery, they're opening themselves up to future litigation that will just stall us out even longer.
Right.
So I think that is why OCM is now saying, hey, let's just not do that. Because I think that what's another stall out going to do to the industry?
Suffocate it.
Yeah, because where we? Because think about some places like
New York.
Yeah, New York, or even locally. Like let's say you're a small business person, and you were expecting 6 months ago to be open,
to turn on a dispensary,
and now you're waiting, and now you've hemorrhaged what is rent here is probably at least $5,000. So we're talking, that's
30 grand.
30 grand that you've been waiting, and now you could get in another potential lawsuit and have to wait more time.
Yeah,
it's just like on a small business side, it's harmful. I think that the people are ready to go to a store and buy weed. It's like how do we expedite this process?
And the people are looking for options, and I think competition will create better products. More opportunities for growers to sell above ground, more places for consumers to get products. It all lends itself to better products because there's just more access and more eyeballs on the industry in a positive sense. Like, how long have you been getting asked, when are we going to get dispensaries? You've been getting asked it for years. And so I think it would be nice to put a little heat on the tribes and say, or heat on the medical companies and say, hey, there's adult use cannabis available. And we still don't know when that will be live.
Yeah. What was it? May/June?
May/June, yeah.
But who knows? Like, because how long did it take them last time with the number of applications they got? Now there's a flood more.
Yeah, and so in the Star Tribune article that dropped as we're recording this, interim director Taubel did say that they'll be through the most pressing applications by the week that this show comes out.
Awesome.
And so then that would lend itself to, or that news would say, okay, then they're going to be getting closer and closer to being able to draw names out of the hat or let folks know you're good to go, move on to the next step. What steps have you been, as an applicant, what steps have you been receiving, or like have you gotten your labor peace agreement in place and those types of things, background checks? Or do you feel like your application is moving through the process?
Yep. So I got my labor peace agreement in, filled out my background check, and now I'm just kind of waiting to hear back about the background check.
Okay, sure.
But, I've been a good boy, and I mean I did the background check for them already for director position.
Right.
When I got interviewed by the governor. So if I was good enough to sit in front of the governor, I'm pretty sure I can open up a weed shop.
Let's hope. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about some 420 events. We'll be right back.
Attention all Minnesota cannabis lovers. Put down your joint, bong, vaporizer, or whatever else you're currently holding while you're listening to your favorite podcast, and mark your calendar for the 2nd annual Doobie Dabbler Cannabis Festival, happening September 5th and 6th at Seavers Fall Festival Grounds in Shakopee. This 2-day festival is a cannabis lover's dream, featuring over 100 acres of vendors, artisans, industry pro seminars, live music, food trucks, and the wackiest and wildest activities your stoned imagination can come up with. Doobie Dabbler is the can't-miss cannabis party of the year. Come join thousands of your newest buddies in celebration of the ever-growing Minnesota cannabis culture at Seavers Fall Festival Grounds in Shakopee, September 5th and 6th for the 2025 Doobie Dabbler. Tickets and more available at doobiedabbler.com. Doobie Dabbler, Minnesota's great green get-together. Must be 21 years of age or older to attend. Powered by the teams behind Beer Dabbler, Bear's Joy, and Hunt Atkins.
And we're back with the Northern Lights podcast. We're going to talk about some events coming up for 420. Some stuff you're going to want to know to go check out.
420 kind of falls on an interesting day this year. You know, it's like we got a lot of 419 events and a few 420 events.
Yep, there's only a few of the 420s.
Are you going to go to church? Easter service, right? Right? You guys will be there?
Yeah, if your dad picks us up.
He'll swing the minivan around.
We'll be there. Clem, where are you going to be throughout 420 weekend?
So on 419, we're going to be a few places. So
Okay.
we're going to be at Sergio's spot. I don't want to blow the spot, so if you're in the know, we'll be at Sergio's.
He's got an egg hunt going.
He's doing an egg hunt. We're going to do some parachutes there, some nostalgic parachutes.
That's right. So you own that parachute, huh?
I do, yeah.
That's your nostalgic.
The custom weed blower.
Custom weed blower. Yeah, if you've seen it, if you've been to Dabbler Depot or Doobie Dabbler before, you probably took part in the nostalgia of the. What do you call that thing?
I just call it the nostalgic parachute because it like brings back like childhood memories and
Gym class.
Yeah, gym class and like kid togetherness and weed, like all my favorite things.
Wow, that's cool. So Sergio's got an event going down 419.
But I'll also be at Modest Brewing. It's their 9th year anniversary of the brewery there.
Yeah, Cloud9 is the party name, right?
Yep. They're going to have live music by Doge and Beta Fuse. They're going to have a low-dose hemp edible marketplace. I know that Legacy Glassworks is doing glass blowing. We've got our homies at Lavish doing a joint rolling comp.
Yeah.
I think that's 3 to midnight.
Okay.
So it's a longer one. So
yeah,
there's a bunch of things to go. So you could go check out. Hey, Surly's doing something also on 419.
Oh, they are. Yeah.
That's from 1 to 5.
Surly just dropped a new drink that looks crazy,
doesn't it?
Yeah, some juice, some new juice drinks. We got to get that on the show.
But yeah, Legacy Cup, you can get your early bird tickets there. I think they're $4.20. That's early.
That's early this weekend. Okay.
Also, more glass blowing happening there. And Doc Dabs will be there with a pop-up shop. So
Wow.
come check us out. We'll be vending at Surly.
You're just going to duplicate yourself, huh?
I'm just gonna clone myself, and I'll be at 3 places at once, and then I'll be jumping between the 3.
So many dabs.
Too many dabs.
I'm just picturing Clem's basement, all the tubes with just clone versions of him just floating, waiting to be brought to consciousness.
Given your ability to clone, it makes sense that you clone yourself.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Island Peggy's got something going on at their dispensary in Welsh this weekend as well. They've got like a super great bundle deal, and then there's a few brands like Ganja Scoden will be down there. Canna Connect will have a table down there as well on 419.
Another cool event. I know our homies at Hemp House.
Yes.
They're gonna have Baby Zito. So if you're a fan, you want to get the munchies and have some ice cream.
Yeah. Shout out to Hemp House. They got a brand new location in Northeast, super fly location. And
Yes, I think they're doing it to show it off, right? It's like the grand opening essentially.
15 brands. I think Granny's is there, Trail Magic, Insight Brewing, You Betcha, Earl Giles. Some great brands that are going to be out there.
So food trucks, vendor showcase, tastings, art show, live music.
Yeah.
That's at 12 to 6 p.m.
Early bird tickets are $4.20, and then they've got VIP and GA regular tickets as well.
What's another one? I think those are almost all of them that are on 419. I think Milstein's, is that
420.
Milstein's on 420?
There's an event at Marigold with Balanced on 418, 7 o'clock at Marigold, the non-alcoholic bottle shop. And then Balance is dropping some new product on 418. But yeah, 420, it looks like the day of is going to be a sesh over at Familia headquarters, the skate shop with Lavish, Milstagrams, Opie, On Point, real heady sesh fest from what I can see.
Yeah, that looks like it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Afterwards, we're throwing a wellness wind down or a sauna sesh at Embrace North, just
Ooh,
like
nice.
right around the corner from
Sweat it
Familia.
out.
Yeah, once you're sufficiently good for the day, grab your tickets right now. They're almost sold out. Canna Connect sauna sesh.
Oh yeah, I'll be there. I'll be sweating.
Yeah,
I got invited recently to do a sauna podcast.
Yes.
Sweating with Letty or getting hot with Letty.
Sweaty with Letty.
Sweaty with Letty, man.
Yeah, I was supposed to do the show this winter. Letty's coming through in like a month.
Yeah, I'm
he's
looking forward to it.
doing this show.
He's doing this show time. Yeah.
I like Josh a lot.
Cool. Yeah. So I gotta start practicing because I feel like for me it's gonna be like an episode of Hot Ones. It's gonna be melting and like what?
Seriously, no, you should really come on 420. It's Embrace North's got a great spot. Earl Giles will be there. You betcha. Carpe diem. But like in general, last year 420 was so fun. It was on a Saturday last year at Modest. I think I saw you there.
Yep.
What are some of your like 420 rituals, or like what are some of the things you like to do on a 420 holiday?
One of my favorite things to do is like do a throwback smoke.
Okay.
So I like to think of that I was in high school again and try to get creative.
Yes.
So maybe we're gonna stab an apple, or maybe we're gonna get creative with some tin foil.
Right.
We just gotta throw it back
To the earlier days when you had less at your fingertips.
Yeah, we're not pressing buttons on 420.
That's right. That's right. The only button you're pressing is play on this one.
Yeah. But that's it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I like to do usually do some I like doing it like a lazy lavender lemonade for when I get home.
Oh.
Something to just like
yeah.
unwind.
Using your lavender.
I just use regular lavender flowers.
Okay.
Yeah. Just mix them into some lemonade and throw some water soluble in there and pass off into dreamland.
What's the best 420 meal at the end of the day?
I mean, honestly, depending on where you're at, just like a nice hot meal is, whether it's McDonald's or a food truck or barbecue. You know, if you're over at Familia headquarters, you could hop over to Beast Barbecue and grab some nice meats over there. But honestly, I think on 420, if I think back to like my earlier days, it was just like, don't get too high that you get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, don't get yourself into too much danger on 420 because you want to be safe. You want to take a ride. You don't want to be driving and being high. You know, you don't want to go over the limits, you know.
But yeah, I think that there's a couple more events on 420. I think one of them that seems the most interesting is that Powderhorn 420 bike event.
Really?
So like, if you've ever been to like a marathon, like a beer marathon, where you like run and then chug a beer and run some more and chug another beer, they're having like a similar thing but with bikes in Powderhorn Park.
Oh.
So it starts at Venture Bikes. I think they leave at like 1:40. So, like, you'll bike around, and then you'll stop and get a smoke or eat some gummies or take a cannabis drink. And then there's a bunch of these little bonus stops where you get to hang out and sesh with folks.
Venture Bikes, that's owned by Kenneth Littleton, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've great coffee shop right off the Greenway in Midtown. Mm-hmm. I hadn't heard about that, but you know, leave it to Powderhorn to be the most bizarre.
Right. If you want to check out that'd probably be the most unique 420 event.
Okay, yeah.
I know Hook and Ladder's having something cool.
Sure.
I think they have they're doing like another one of the Easter egg hunts.
Okay.
I know they're doing like a 420 fashion show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's something.
Is that Smoking on the Runway? Is that
Smoking on the Runway? Yeah.
Okay.
I know that there's going to be Stoner Bingo, some more live art and live music. Clown Glass.
Yeah, shout out to Brittany.
Yeah, shout out Brittany at Clown Glass. They're doing the same thing: music, food, art. They're going to have Frankie's Pizza there, mocktails.
Okay.
Their music by Trip B. Shout out Trip B.
Shout out to Trip. I was over at St. Paul Cannabis today picking up a 10,000 milligram CBD bottle because that's the type of time I'm on, and I think they've got a food truck for like the first 200 guests on 420 right off Snelling. So I think no matter where you are, whether you're in Minneapolis, St. Paul, or outside the cities, like there's a good amount of events happening all weekend.
Yeah, and showcasing a lot of small local businesses. So go to a couple of them and see what's going on.
And hopefully this is the last 420 where we're leading with hemp-derived products, and nothing against THC beverages, but like I think when people want to really celebrate 420, they're looking for the adult use products that really get them high.
Yep. Because I think it like leads back to like if like the history of 420. So I'm writing about the history of 420 in upcoming Star Tribune article.
Okay, should be coming out soon.
So I think that to celebrate the true 420, you need to have some flower.
Yes.
And access and good access to it. So it's like. I remember Marcus Harkis always inviting me to the Smoke on the Capitol on 420.
Right.
So I think, getting together and smoking, I think is like quintessentially 420.
It wasn't 420, but how was your weekend last weekend with Marcus? Did you guys get out to the Wisconsin area where you?
We did. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Cool. So we it was Marcus's son's 14th birthday the day before. So we went up, we did a hike. So I got some property in Luck, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So we hiked into the property, man, with like a dozen people. We started out with shooting guns, doing some shooting practice. So that was his son's first time shooting a gun. So it's kind of like a little rite of passage.
How invigorating, right?
Yeah. So worked on some form and had a bunch of people for shooting firearms. We went on another hike to a lake. We did some fishing. Then we went back to the main property and cooked some food.
Yeah.
So it was just, really, really nice. Just get out of the cities and rest and recharge, see some eagles and some beavers and red-tailed hawks, and just get a chance to stare at the water and the beauty of nature.
Yeah, how peaceful. Mm-hmm. And for that to be your land and to be able to share it with friends, how nice is that?
It's awesome. It's wonderful.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. And we'll cut to an interview with Steph Mulrooney from Balanced and Global Organics and her new brand, Yuki Yohai. We'll be right back.
Attention Northern Lights listeners. Whether you're growing cannabis indoors or outdoors, organically or hydroponically, Eco Garden Supply has the tools to help you succeed. From premium organic nutrients to advanced hydro systems, they've got everything you need to cultivate like a pro at home. Head to ecogardensupply.com now or visit them in person at 800 Transfer Road, Suite 3, St. Paul, Minnesota 55114 and elevate your cannabis. Eco Garden Supply, growing supplies for the serious grower. Ever felt like running a cannabis business means running in circles just to get basic banking? Union Bank and Trust gets it. They've been helping cannabis businesses for over 10 years, solving problems like securing accounts, managing cash flow, and navigating regulations. No more jumping through hoops, no more runarounds. Just straightforward banking solutions built on trust, integrity, and performance. Check out unionbankandtrust.com today. That's unionbankandtrust.com.
Did you know that 70% of businesses fail in the first 10 years? And the number one reason they fail is because they run out of cash. Hi, I'm Dave Woodbeck. I'm the managing partner of Dope CFO. At Dope CFO, we help cannabis business owners beat the odds by providing financial leadership. Yes, we handle bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes, just like any accountant. But as one CEO recently told me, the last thing I need is another accountant. I need a partner who can help me achieve financial success. So take the first step towards financial success. Scan the QR code now to start your free self-assessment.
I was wondering about that. Yeah, I was actually on my way here. I was like, I bet she's taking inventory of the place
already
right
done.
now. As I'm like, 2:05. She's taking inventory. I'm running late.
That's actually what I was doing before.
Yes. Perfect. I knew it. So one of the things that I was trying to think back to was, the simple question of like, when did we first meet, or when was the first time we were in the same room together? And it's hard for me to remember anything before 2020 or 2021 when we were at Stadium Bar and Grill, and like you were probably providing products and swag for like gift bags and things like that.
And I showed up in a weed costume.
Well, fast forward. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
the night
you
Carol
did.
met me.
So that was October 2021, I think.
Okay, that one was? Okay.
Yeah. And but you have showed up to multiple parties in a weed costume, right?
Yeah.
Award-winning weed costume.
Yes.
Which is cool. You love Halloween, right?
Yes, and I love weed.
And you love weed.
So there's that.
Wait a second. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I guess.
So I was trying to think when I met you too.
Yeah.
I think it was at a brewery. I don't know why I think it was. I was just trying to like, but I know I'm just having my 6-year anniversary now with Global Organic.
Really?
And so I've been in the space 6 years. So somewhere in that first year, whenever you entered the space.
So you started
at the beginning.
2019. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we really get started, I want to introduce you to the Northern Lights podcast. So we're here with Steph Mulrooney from Balanced Global Organics and Yuki Yohai. Steph, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you. I appreciate you being here today. We're at Dabbler Depot Seed and Sesh inside the Zen Den at Dabbler Depot Studios. We've got a candle lit. Tell us a little bit about what you've brought for us today.
Let's see. I brought this is our Egyptian mint candle, and then a M2 dugout, which is kind of our luxe dugout that slides.
Oh, sweet. Action. Yeah.
This is a poker that has a little magnetic tool, and then it slides open on the bottom, and you have your lighter.
Seriously.
Yeah, it holds a mini bic. So that's kind of our that's our luxe dugout kit. And then I also brought one of our chromas in purple. It also comes in orange. Those are gifts to you guys. So you can fight over which one you want.
I'm so excited to get to the point where you can tell me how you found the Yuki Yohai brand and how you became a part of their business. But let's take it way further back. We were just talking off mic about the first time that we met, or what year, how long we've known each other. And for you, you've been in the industry 6 years professionally, having a career. I've been floating in the industry for 6 years. It hasn't always been full-time professional work, but going further back than that, when did you first, when was the car accident?
That was 2013.
Wow.
Yeah. So 2013, I was in a serious accident. I sustained lots of injuries, broken bones, things like that, and a traumatic brain injury.
And up until that point, you were working with a technical background. You worked in IT and you worked in computers. You knew, languages and coding and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a technical career going, and that car accident changed your life and affected you. And it fast forward 6 years, and you're working for Global Organic Distro, the creators of the Balance brand,
And Foundry.
and Foundry Nation, and so many dope products, really. The 6 years, though, that journey was what led you eventually to find cannabis as a career, but before that, it was cannabis as medicine. And I think that's why I wanted to invite you onto the show today, is because I think you bring a real story and a real legitimacy to the plant and to the industry that you represent and that we're a part of together. So how did you come to find cannabis as medicine?
It took a while. So my accident was in 2013, and our medical program here in Minnesota was pretty much in its infancy. So 2 years, I had about 2 years of just on and off surgeries and trying to figure out my new normal, being overprescribed narcotics from each of those surgeries. And I've never liked narcotics and how they make me feel, but you're just kind of in a position of recovering from surgeries. You have no other options. And so,
pills are easy, right?
Yeah, right.
In theory,
but they also, they affect your mental health. I mean, it was like a roller coaster ride of 2 years of.
They're not full spectrum by any means.
Right. Right. And so, I finally was coming to the point I was very fortunate that I have a medical provider. At the time, it was summer of 2016. There were talks about introducing intractable pain as a, approved condition in the medical program.
Right. At
the time of my accident, prior to 2016, most of the conditions approved were for terminal illness.
Sure.
So I'd reached a point of refusing to take all of the medications I was being prescribed. So I'm like, don't prescribe me anything. I'm not going to take it. And just trying to push through. And once I got off the narcotics from the surgeries, it was at that point, almost a year and a half later, I was still having, cognitive issues. And that's when we realized that the narcotics were like masking that. And I did a lot of neurology appointments and things like that to realize like I have a traumatic brain injury from the accident. So there was like a whole thing.
It took many years to fully uncover the accident.
Yes.
The trauma from the accident.
Right. Because, when you have a traumatic brain injury, it's really different. If you have an injury, you break your leg or your arm, you're wearing a cast and you have that injury. But there's just no way to see a traumatic brain injury the same.
Right.
I can think one identifier was I was at the grocery store and I was at the deli and I ordered my deli turkey that I always order.
Yeah.
And they didn't have it in stock. And I just had this emotional meltdown and I came completely unraveled and bursting into tears at the deli. And I'm like, this is like so not right.
Sure.
So it just took a lot to figure that out and navigate through that. And
isn't it interesting that reality is essentially like how we handle external situations? Like it's much deeper than that, right? And how we find ourselves at peace and how we find reality, but like everything is just how we perceive it and how comfortable we are. How can we embrace the moment versus, things can, a random thing might ruin your day, especially if you're not balanced.
Right. And I was not balanced at all. So then, like I said, I was going to a pain clinic and my doctor at the time, she told me she was going to get licensed to prescribe, which was really unusual because it wasn't really a positive thing amongst the medical profession. And
right.
So, and I go to a common medical provider where she works. And so she encouraged me that I would be a good candidate.
Yeah.
For the intractable pain piece.
Okay.
And I still was very hesitant because I was out on long-term disability from a very conservative corporation that I thought would just totally cut off my benefits. So I'm like, let me think about it. Went back 3 months later. She said, are you ready? And I said, okay, let's try it. And I had used cannabis before recreationally. I wasn't using it, it was just socially every now and then. So to learn about how to use it medicinally was, a different experience. And prior to that, I had already done research on cannabis for some of the symptoms that I had. So I was already buying, this sounds so silly, I was already buying CBD illegally at the time.
Wow, early on.
We're back like 2014, 2015. So I was buying CBD illegally.
Interesting.
And it was helping. So then I got prescribed, and I gave it the full I gave it like 3 months to see, like, is this making a difference? And I never looked back.
Okay.
So then I decided I need to become an advocate so others have access to this medicine.
Absolutely. What were those early products that you had access to or that you were willing to try?
So there was not flour, because flour was just introduced a couple of years ago. So all that was really available in the Minnesota Medical Program were capsules and vapables for me, and topicals at the time.
Sure.
So
did the capsules help?
The capsules helped. Like my preference was a 1-to-1. So it was, half CBD, half THC.
Mm-hmm.
That was my preference in the vapable, and that was my preference in the capsules too.
Mm-hmm.
I preferred the vapable versus the capsules just because I always feel like you can manage your intake and better. But
really controlled.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes taking an adjustable, I still feel this to this day, can be a commitment, depending on where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And so, 16, 17.
So yeah, that was August of 2016, I think, is when I went in on the medical program.
It's you probably have my take on it would be a pretty you have a pretty robust appreciation for both plant medicine and traditional medicine from a insurance standpoint, being able to use long-term disability to help you get through an accident like that. And like, you've shown to have longevity in the corporation that you work for. And so it seems to me like you're a very solid employee because you have longevity at your careers, and the people that you work with take care of you and are wanting to see the betterment of you. And so like, I think for some folks in this industry, they don't have as much corporate background. They haven't worked for as structured or organized companies. And so, I always say that I compliment you often, but like, good on you for everything that you've done thus far. And
oh, thank you.
And to kind of go ahead from pre-cannabis as a job to entering the industry through Global Organics with the creators of the Balanced and Foundry Nation brand. And like, what were those early conversations like? Like, how did the job start?
That's a really interesting question. Part of my holistic healing from my accident, I decided to go to yoga school and get all my yoga certifications.
That's right.
So, wow. So I am certified. I'm a certified yoga teacher with almost 500 hours of certification, as well as I'm certified in meditation, yin, and restorative yoga to teach. And Allison, the founder of Balanced, one of the founders of Balanced, we were at the same yoga center and share the same meditation teacher.
Okay.
And we met there and connected, and she was just launching Balanced, and
definitely,
I was like, oh my gosh, CBD, like, just I was so excited that it was coming to the market in the Twin Cities, and
I've been buying that shit for years.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so we connected, and then I went in. I think I met with them, and it was just, my son was a year old at that time, so it was just a very part-time, and we were just like, let's see what happens. And here we are 6 years later with, I don't even know how many SKUs and a national placement. So yeah, it's really exciting.
And so, task-wise, I see you as a salesperson in a general category, right? So like, talk about the growth. So like, from part-time job to traveling the nation and being at shows and zipping from New York to Vegas to Atlanta to
all over.
So because you and I have both played it started as CBD and hemp, and there was a time when you guys were working with farmers in Wisconsin or North Dakota to try to either extract hemp CBD flower or sell hemp CBD flower. To the industry is so far from just hemp CBD flower nowadays, and it's actually, you can't even sell it in Minnesota right now, right? So how do you describe kind of the growth from 2019 and then, oops, we got a pandemic we got to deal with, and then when things started coming back online in 2022 and people started to get together, like what were those early years like at Global Organics?
It's interesting. I think, the early years were we had CBD oils and topicals, that was like that's what we had. And
were you at Legacy Cup 1?
I was at Legacy Cup in 2019.
2019.
Which was so, I was thinking about that this morning, actually. Just thinking about my history in the industry as I celebrate like my 6th year with Global Organic. And we had, nobody knew anybody, and it was very cutthroat and everyone was so competitive. And
there were so many samples on the table.
It was just like, it was just such an interesting time when you look at where the industry is now. And I just,
Yeah, I got so high off of CBD that night.
I did too.
Seriously.
And then I was driving home with all this hemp flower in my car thinking like, what happens if I get pulled over with hemp flower?
You should tell them it's hemp flower. See what happens. I have, memories from that night as well. And a lot of the same aspects of the Legacy Cup that I saw last year were still a part of the first one, whether it be the joint rolling contest or the vendor tables or the samples, the food trucks, the music, the DJs. Like, it's cool to see. We can use Legacy Cup as an example of how much this industry's grown. And so was there a certain product that really helped balance Pop Off? Or I know the crossover and the culture element has always been a part of the brands, whether it's Foundry or Balance, but like, when did things really start to go full time and then travel pick up? And can you kind of point to a moment?
I think the full-time piece for me was just kind of, the company's always been great about working with me and some of my limitations. And so it was just kind of like where the industry was at and what I could contribute, because like I said, I had a 1-year-old, and it was just kind of, we were working with each other to kind of get where we are. And then we were able to hire on other sales reps to realize like, I can't be the only, as we grew, we needed to add people. And I
think about the waters.
That's what I was just going to bring up. When you ask about the product that has kind of like, I can't think of one product that has really like been that one product, but when I always go back to the CBD sparkling waters, because we were the first cannabis company in Minnesota to launch a beverage, which I think is really special.
Right.
We were in a gray area and we knew it, and we tried to push the envelope. And I think ownership just did a really great job navigating the laws around that to keep those waters, around.
No doubt.
And here we are. Look at the beverage industry now. It's like
there's at least 2 brands.
There's at least 2. But just to know, like, we were, one of the innovators of that is I think really great.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And that 2021 into 2022, that's when I feel like the beverage, the pioneers were starting to stake their claim and push the envelope and
we weren't first to market with a THC beverage.
Oh, sure.
Just because, it's likely we will never be first to market, because we will do all the R&D and do all of we always want it perfect before we put it to market.
Okay.
So even though we already had a beverage, our THC beverages, we were going to make sure we're perfect.
Yeah. And, the last time we worked together through Canna Connect, you helped us out with CBD water or CBD sparkling water beverages at CannaCon last year.
Yes.
And, looking at a alcohol distributor's list of available products, cannabis beverages, one of the reasons, besides our relationship, one of the reasons I reached out to you was the only remaining CBD only SKU on the sales list is a balanced product. And it's so that was last year in 2025. So in essentially less than 5 years, we've just seen such changes, whether it's the CBD, CBG, Delta 8, the beverages, the preferences. I know I've asked you, hey, what's your best-selling product? And you're like, well, it really depends on the market that we're in. Some markets lean more towards our sugary drinks, and some lean more towards our sparkling flat drinks and our non-sugar drinks and things like that. So, with all that being said, it's you have a lot of perspective, not just in Minnesota, but nationally as well.
Yeah, I feel fortunate that I'm able to travel and see the different markets and meet people on a national level in the same space. It's been great. The last 6 years have been awesome.
Cool. Well, you wear many hats.
I do, literally.
At least one. From Balanced to Ukiyo-Hi. Tell us a little bit how you've evolved from Balanced to now having an ownership role in Ukiyo-Hi. And I have a guess of maybe how you came across Ukiyo-Hi through your travels and trade shows and things like that. But give us a little bit of a look behind the curtain. How did you make this move that's both career advancing, but you didn't have to trade in one job for another?
Very carefully. It was, I had seen Ukiyo-Hi. It just started to appear and I had seen it. I think, Carol sent me an Instagram
Really?
post. Always back to Carol, right?
Oh, it's always Carol.
I had seen it on Instagram, and then I think I was at her house, and she had bought a dugout from them, and she's like, "This is like my first grown-up ass dugout," is what she said. So I quote her on that.
Legend.
Legend. And, I looked at it and I was just like, who is behind this? Like, I was very interested, just always being on the consumable side or dealing with the plant. I was really, interested in some, as a mom in the space, as a canna mom, a professional, just something that wasn't head shoppy to me. It just really appealed to me. And we have a mutual client. My business partner is Dave, who started the brand, and he had sold the products into a client that I deal with, and I had seen them there, and I asked her, and she said, "Well, he's asked about these products. I think you guys should meet." So she did an intro, and we met, and he has no connections to the cannabis industry or anything like that. Just
more artist driven.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, exactly. More the creative, and 3 months later, I wrote him a check, and here we are. That's pretty much it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I was
turn
really
1 into 2 and 2 into 4.
Yeah, it was really unexpected, and it was appealing. Obviously, I had conversations with Global Organic about it because my position there is really important to me, and that ownership would feel good about me doing this and things like that. So there was conversations internally about it, but it was really appealing to me to own a piece in the industry that did not touch the plant and not have the same regulatory and legal restrictions. If granted, there were not a bunch of tariffs in play when I made this decision. We were not at a tariff war when this decision was made, but the appeal or the possible abilities to ship outside of the country, and things like that. So I feel like, there's some opportunities that you just don't have, dealing with the plant itself. So
I had a conversation earlier this week with somebody, and it's like the longer that I stay in this industry, the less I want to actually be plant touching.
Yeah, it's complicated, right?
It's complicated
and costly.
and very costly.
Yes.
I remember having a conversation with you about the Balance brand, or the brands that you work with, and how it's probably we don't really have any interest in taking that brand into adult use cannabis. We see opportunities in the hemp space, nationally and things like that. And I think that's not a ton of people's perceptions, but it is nationally such the focus of conversation now, where there's these big trade shows, or there's these venture capital groups that put on conferences, and they're all geared towards hemp beverage or non-alcoholic drinks. And it's interesting that it came out of Minnesota. Yeah,
it's really cool that here we are in Minnesota, part of like the most innovative part of cannabis right now, the beverage space. So,
yeah. You've worked with a lot of products. You've met a lot of people, both professionally as well as consumers. What are some of the lessons that you may take away from the cannabis industry in the last 6 years?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I think one lesson is just that, you have to keep going. You have to, when you feel knocked down, you have to get back up and keep going. I mean, you also have to be able to pivot, and not get discouraged. I mean, you could be ready to launch one product, and next week the law changes and that product is pulled out from under you. So you just have to be able to be flexible and pivot. I think that's a big lesson.
Do you find yoga and meditation, is that still a part of your practice? Like,
yes, absolutely. Like I would say it's part of my medicine routine as well. And it probably keeps me being a better parent, a better wife, just a better human in general.
I'm feeling like that's missing right now in my life. And I like being vulnerable. Like I need my yoga practice back inside me. And like the sauna is great and exercise clubs, running is great. But like, I really think there's something special about having a yoga studio and finding peace within yourself.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Especially just where the world is at, where our country's at, just everything. Like you have to take time to find peace in a day. And I tell people even meditate for a minute a day, like whatever it is that
Right.
just a minute, 5 minutes, like it all is good for your mental health.
Yeah, it contributes. And the you have to keep going part is, it's so true. It's one that I like to, like yesterday I was talking to somebody and they're like, it's always the darkest before dawn. And it's like in those moments, like it's a good reminder to hear you have to keep going, and you don't always have to keep going at the same pace. Like you can, like, it's like being stuck on 94 right now in traffic, depending on which way you're going, 94 east, 94 west, it's both bad. And like, you just have to, you got to stay in your lane. And if you're going to move lanes, make sure you signal and let the people know what you're doing. And I feel like that's a good analogy to how you've been able to not really reinvent yourself, but take that natural next step to becoming a business owner, because you've had such great experience in working in a legitimate business for, 5+ years prior to becoming an owner. So I just think that's great advice. You have to keep going, find a way to stay in, but also find a way to stay within yourself.
Stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
I think that can get lost in this industry a lot.
Absolutely. If you stay in your own lane and you have good organizational practices, and you just have a logical way to move your product to the next step in the supply chain, you get a lot less caught up in the bullshit because you're not worried about what the other car is doing. You're just driving yourself and getting your family and your people to where you need to be. And I think that's a nice way to look at things, because we've seen a lot of silly drama and a lot of silly rules. Like, to be fair, like a lot of things have changed, and that puts people on edge, and it's like, well, if I can't move this product and I just bought all this product, blah, blah, blah. And so, I mean, it's like going slow and steady wins the race, or, slow down to speed up. And like, I constantly find myself reminding myself of like, hey, these sprints that you go on, like you have to be more measured in your pace, because if you want to be in it for the long term, you've got to be able to wake up and do it every day and not feel burnt out about things. So
Right.
I want to talk about Yukio High, but I think it's important that we talk about you as a woman and a medical cannabis patient in a space that's historically been male dominated. Have there been moments that really shaped your perspective or your approach? And like, I know you have a super strong team, but like, what have been some of the ways that you've gotten on offense to, not allow anyone to get in your way or not allow anyone to put you down? Like, how do you stand out as a minority in the cannabis industry?
I mean, working in a male-dominated industry is not foreign to me. Being in corporate IT and being,
Great point.
in management and a programmer, it was very male-dominated. The difference is I also thought the women in corporate IT were very cutthroat and not, everyone's fighting their way to the top. I just think the women in this industry, I think, are really special in Minnesota. They really do support each other and try to lift each other up for the most part. And I think that that's something I haven't seen in other spaces. So I think we're really fortunate here with a group of women that, I know that this is a hard industry to just enter at this point, like a lot of people have been doing it almost 6 years or more, right? So I think women really, like I said, they try to support each other. They be there for each other. It's difficult because some of the men in this industry have been very hypercritical of certain women in this industry, or, you know, and really vocal on social media, commenting on everything, tearing women down. And I mean, we see you, we know who you are. And it's really unfortunate, you know.
I think the spaces that have been created for women in Minnesota cannabis are very inspiring spaces. And I think from what I've seen as an outsider is if you're willing to show up and you consistently show up, that you get kind of brought into the group. And then there's so many different people, resources or connections that can be made. And I think it's inspiring, and I think it's been great to see the Minnesota Women's Cannabis Collective and organizations like, you know, Blunt Strategies being leaders in that space as well. And, you know, do you think the cannabis industry in Minnesota is becoming more inclusive and supportive of women? And what steps do you think need to be taken if not?
I think it is. I mean, I think we just keep banding together stronger. I mean, like every time, you know, we see people being hypercritical of certain women in the space, it only makes us stronger to want to stand together and support each other.
Right.
So, and I feel fortunate for the position that I've had since the beginning that I've been in this industry for 6 years, working for a company that also wants to help support and lift others up. We're not that cutthroat company that is so competitive. You know, we really want to help the underdog. And so that sets an example, I think, for how others should be. And, you know, I hope that we can continue to be an inclusive space for women.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We should plug the event you've got coming up on 4/18.
Yeah, 4/18 in Marigold in Minneapolis. Balance is doing a launch party for a new product. So
awesome.
It'll be fun.
Awesome. Balance throws some good launch parties, so I can co-sign that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's 7 to 10 p.m.
Okay, Friday night.
Friday night.
This Friday, if you're watching this on Tuesday.
Yes, the 18th.
Are you paying attention to any of the changes happening at the legislature this year?
I'm paying attention. I'm not heavily involved in it. I feel like I have my hands full because I also have a full-time job of being CEO of my household. So I'm trying to manage all of the things with them.
CEO of a 7-year-old.
Yes.
How's your husband doing?
Good. He got on his 2-hour bike ride today. He got that in, so he's good.
Oh, jealous. Yeah. And you know, what other things should people know about you and your story, Steph?
I have no idea, Steve.
So Steph was super nervous about this, and I think she's done a great job. I mean, you are who you are. You're a real person with real experience. You know, like there's nothing to be nervous about. And like, I don't know. I certainly love what you're doing, and I love the brands you represent. Tell us a little bit about what folks should think of when they hear Yuki Yohai.
I hope people see Yuki Yohai as a brand that makes them feel good. Like the ultimate, thing is we want to spark joy in people's lives, right? Like, and I think right now people need more joy. I mean, right?
Yeah. Should we talk politics for a little while, or no?
No.
No, you're right. And you know, a little balanced, a little Yuki Yohai. It's a nice way to improve your day.
Right. There you go.
What are your favorites off the Yuki Yohai site right now? Where would you point people to heading into 420?
You need a good dugout, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The on the go.
The on the go dugout. Everybody needs a grown up dugout.
Yes.
So I would get yourself a dugout.
Awesome. Steph, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this. We've had this booked for months.
Yes.
If folks want to find you, you recently switched up your IG.
I did. And that's like a work in progress all the time.
Hey, it's better than what it used to be. Like the urban mama.
Thanks.
No, what you've done, and I've taken inspiration from this, is like I have an Instagram account that's for friends and family who knew me before I was in the cannabis industry.
Right.
And I think you do too. And then
I do.
And then you have an Instagram account that more so leans into the cannabis line of work that you do. And that's the Urban Mama.
Yes. Urban with an H.
Spelled with an H. And then if folks want to check out the brands that you represent, they can find Balanced Naturals, Foundry Nation, and Yuki Yohai.
All on Instagram.
Unlike our producer, Jordan.
I'm not a good poster. I'm a scroller, not a poster.
Yeah.
So
Shout
that's
it.
why I have a business partner who does he does all of our social media. So
And it's a Minnesota company.
it is a Minnesota company. The products are designed in Minnetonka. So my business partner, Dave, has designed all the products.
Yeah. So cool. Who would have thought Minnetonka's pumping out Yuki
Right, there you
Yohai, Bovida,
There you go. Yeah.
you know,
Bovida.
I'm sure there Moonlight Cannabis.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Allie and Carter.
yeah.
Shout out.
Well, I hope you have so much fun at the Beyonce concert next month.
Thank you. Oh, I will. I'm with Carol. How can I not?
And we'll be right back.
Ready to kick off your home grow? We've got the perfect hookup for you. MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. They've got everything from fast flowering strains to unique hybrids, all ready for growing in Minnesota. And guess what? Our listeners get an exclusive deal. Use the code NL10 for a 10% discount on your entire order. Don't miss out and get started with the best seeds. Start your growth strong with MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Remember, NL10 for 10% off at MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com. Grab your seeds today. And we're back here in the studio with Casey of Natural Harvest. How's it going, man?
Hey, Tanner. Thanks for having me back again.
Super happy to have you back in the studio. It is another month. It is April. We're getting so close to that outdoor season being real. And now it's another month, which means we got another seed box. Tell us, what do you have in store for us this month?
Yeah, so this month, exciting one, Northern Lights Auto.
What? You named a seed after us? No. I'm just kidding. No, a classic cultivar, Northern Lights Auto. That's awesome. That's a really, really cool one. I mean, not that you have to tell people what is Northern Lights like, but for people who maybe haven't tried the beverage, haven't ever smoked the weed before, haven't been exposed to that, what is Northern Lights?
Absolutely, yeah. Classic indica strain. Kind of one of those everybody knows about. The auto variety is mixed with lowrider, so kind of get some of those genetics too. So
I love it. Yeah, I think you get a little bit of a berry woodsiness to it. Northern Lights is one of those cultivars that I keep coming back to. I haven't found a bad iteration of it yet, so I'm stoked. And an auto plant. For people who maybe have never grown an auto flower before, tell us a little bit, what is it that makes it that auto flower? What does that mean?
Sure. Yeah, the nice thing about the auto flower, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to worry about changing your light cycle. So you can just kind of go about, your normal grow and not really think about that. So it takes a step out of the equation, especially for new growers. Also, as we're going into the summer, a lot of good reasons, get something planted early here, hopefully.
Yeah.
We have some good weather coming up. And another, real positive outcome is that if you do something early in an auto, you kind of avoid that cross-pollination, right?
Absolutely.
All that ditchweed that's around there in October, you're going to be done curing your plants already. So
yeah. And I feel like before we know it, it's going to be time for those plants to be outdoors. Where if you haven't started your seeds yet, really consider doing that now, because you want to be able to take advantage of that full season, not just get your seeds out and get a month or two.
Right. Yeah. And avoid some of those pests and deer and things like that. Rabbits that just like to munch on your plants when they're tiny little things. So
all of that.
A little bit bigger before they go out.
Totally. Well, and like you were talking about earlier with the autoflower, I have a lot of friends that grow in the cities, maybe in their backyard close to others. Those photosensitive plants are great, but sometimes depending upon the lights around you are a bit more finicky. What's nice about those autos is you can just throw them out. Know that as long as the sun is doing its thing, the plant's going to be doing its thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, in my neighborhood, everybody has a light over their garage, and that thing's coming on all the time. Every time some, critter comes walking down the driveway or whatever, screwing up your light cycle. So yeah, it's the way to go.
Awesome. Well, so people have probably been listening. They're thinking already, oh, this is the seed I need to try. I've heard of Northern Lights. Now is my opportunity to grow it. Where would you recommend that people go to get those seeds?
Yeah, come check us out, MinnesotaCannabisSeeds.com.
Very cool. And people can get these, of course, in the seed pack, but you guys also have a monthly subscription. People can sign up for and get seeds delivered to their doorstep every month. Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of a set it and forget it, right? Choose your level and wherever you want to be, and you'll get a new set of genetics every month.
That's awesome. I feel like I have so many like unneeded subscriptions that every month it's like, oh, I got to make sure to cancel that. This, however, is one of those that I feel like very, very important to have.
Yeah, never hit that cancel button.
Never. Well, and I heard even there's a rumor that for people looking to buy a pack of seeds, looking to buy a couple packs of seeds, maybe looking to do a pheno hunt or two, they could get a discount on seeds just by listening to this podcast, right?
Yeah, absolutely. NL10, and that'll get you 10% discount.
Sweet. So we'll go to minnesotacannabisseeds.com. I'll scroll through. I'll fill up my cart. I'll go to checkout, enter NL10, and get that 10% off discount.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Well, Northern Lights, I'm excited to see people grow that. If you've got great pictures of your Northern Lights auto grow, send them in. We'd love to put them on the podcast. That's a fun pack of seeds to get growing.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Casey, thank you so much for coming to the studio today. As always, I cannot wait to see what you have in store for us next month.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Tanner.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Hey, Clem,
What up, Steve?
check this new bag out.
Yo, look at this, man. I love that. The weed leaf with some Minnesota State flag.
Right. It's the Minnesota Cannabis College and Grove Bag collaboration. And look at the fire in there.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yo,
That's some real
Where'd you get this? Green Machine? Who did this?
Over T Sloth, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, man.
Some of that fresh.
Shout out Slothy.
Big Sloth. Well, the reason I wanted to show you this bag is that they're for sale. They're available on the Minnesota Cannabis College website. And if you're a retailer like CannaJoy or a group like Red Lake Nation, Native Care, you can actually buy Minnesota Cannabis College Grove bags that you can sell to your customers who may grow their own cannabis.
That's tight. Yeah, and it's because Minnesota Cannabis College is a nonprofit.
And so the sales of the bag go to funding this show and funding the college, and really it's a win-win because those Grove bags, they last forever, and this is the first collab that they've ever done with anyone in Minnesota. Like, this is an official collab that we did last year with Grove bags, and we've got like 1,000 of these bags when we're looking to sell them all.
Awesome, yeah. So if you want to get some of these, where's the place people can find them at?
Yeah, go to the Minnesota Cannabis College website under the shop, and you can buy as many as you'd like.
Cool. I'm gonna have to grab a couple of these tonight.
Yeah, and they're not super expensive. You can get them for $5 and cover the shipping, and we'll get them sent out to you. So we appreciate your support.
It's a perfect gift for the 420 holiday coming up. Is there a stoner in your life not keeping their weed fresh enough?
I mean, honestly, yeah, this gift never goes bad. It is the bag that you need to keep your weed fresh.
So grab one now and support the Minnesota Cannabis College.
Thanks for supporting the Minnesota Cannabis College.
Anytime.
You know, we're going to roll into the high notes now, episode 27. I'm having a hard time thinking of a high note today, but one thing that I wanted to share was I met with a grower yesterday, a listener of the show. His name's Coda. And he hit me up on the Canna Connect Instagram and was like, hey, I want to buy you a coffee. Hey, I want to pick your brain. And it was so cool to listen to his story as a third-generation cultivator, micro-business application license, future licensee, future license holder, and just understand the perspective of the size of this industry, like the variety of business owners that are entering the space, whether they're coming from the underground market or they're coming from, who knows? There's literally thousands of stories, right? There's thousands of applicants. And I think to bring it back to the, to the story that we shared earlier about the 60-gram requirement for testing is like connecting with the people that listen to this show and the people that are applying for licenses gives me a more enhanced perspective on how faulty some of these decisions are when it comes to the individual or the small business owner. And it just seems wrong in the beginning to kneecap the small business owner or the craft business because if they don't get a chance to succeed in the beginning, how could you expect them to be around longer and later in life? So, it's a little bit of a downer, but I think if the OCM could hear more of the stories from the actual people in this industry, they would be making smarter decisions when it comes to not cutting off the market before it even gets a chance to start. You know, we've got our end of the year party coming up. And, you know, if you're a listener of the show and you have a relationship with cannabis, like, come out, show up, you know, meet other like-minded folks that are a part of this industry and listen to the show, and, you know, share it with your friends. But also, like, we appreciate when you reach out and you let us know how you're thinking and how you're feeling, because ultimately we need this industry to work for you in order for us to really be able to have a job every Friday afternoon. So thanks for reaching out, Coda, and I'll pass it over to you, Clem. What do you got?
So cool. One of the high notes I've had recently is I've been thinking a lot about getting high.
Yeah.
So it's like high ideas or whatever. So my high note, I've been thinking a lot about, like, when you give people pure THC, that experience necessarily isn't super pleasurable by itself. It's like this entourage effect of a bunch of different compounds. So it's like you've got your terpenes.
Yeah.
I think terpenes are a thing that most people know through essential oils, like lavender essential oils rich in linalool. Pine trees have pine oil, you know, this has a lot of alpha and beta pinene.
Yeah.
So I think I've been thinking about, like, how all these other compounds that we don't often talk about or think about, we've got esters and heteroaromatics and these volatile sulfur compounds,
Sure,
and alcohols. And one that I've been thinking about a lot is this methyl anthranilate.
yeah,
So this one's really intriguing that it's like it's found in a bunch of stuff. So, like, it's found in purple urkel, it's found in jasmine, it's found in Concord grapes. And it's literally the compound that they put in grape soda to make it taste like grape soda.
right.
Or they put it in the Kool-Aid, little grape Kool-Aid packets. So I think that, like, the getting high or whatever, it really can get dialed in depending on all these other specialized metabolites or secondary metabolites that the cannabis can make. And I think it's like finding that right high that works for you. Because, like, you know, that lavender has linalool. Linalool is calming.
Yes.
Methyl anthranilate is good for pain management. So it's like I think dialing in those things that you want from cannabis. And it's like, I think that is the future of cannabis, is like the ability to breed for these specific compounds and make, like, these chemovars that have, you know, this one smells like grape. My back hurts. I want to smoke this, but I want to be calm. So there's some linalool in there. Maybe I need some CBD to get some anti-inflammatory action. I'm taking it's like a 1-to-1 THC to CBD. This is my nighttime smoke or edibles made out of that. So it's like, I don't know. I think that, like, thinking about getting high, that's my high note for the week.
You know, I like the new graphics that you've been sharing on your Instagram, Doc Dabs, where you're talking about some of those same ideas. And so if you haven't seen it, check out Clem's Instagram account, Doc Dabs, because I think the more that you share your knowledge with people in digestible methods or digestible graphics and things like that, the further that people can say, oh, yeah, I know what terpenes are, but I'm going to go another layer deeper.
Yep.
You know, you used that onion analogy earlier in the show, and I think the more that you can peel back the onion on what really makes the effect within cannabis, and that it's not all just this one homogeneous thing, it's not all the same. There's so many different parts of what make a certain chemovar effect in a way, right? And so I love that you're doing that. I love that you're sharing that, and it's great to have you on this platform because you're going to be able to do more and more.
I appreciate it. I appreciate the space to share some of this with you guys.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, you've worked really hard to understand what you know, and the next logical step is to share that and allow people to tap into your knowledge base.
Yep. And then learning how to communicate. I think that's one nice thing about Star Tribune. Writing for the Star Tribune is like, how do I learn how to communicate it to a general audience?
Yes,
because I think that most of the people that follow me on Instagram, they don't have a PhD in cannabis. They might not even have gone to undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do I communicate complex ideas in a simple way that they can use in their personal decision making, or that they could be at a party and be like, yo, grape soda, purple urkel, methyl anthranilate.
I really appreciate having your insight on the show, and because and in all the other endeavors, because it's like there's a huge chasm between knowing things and knowing how to communicate things. And I think you've really tapped into like, okay, I have all of this knowledge and expertise and experience. How can I get that on a one-page infographic? How can I distill it to the most important bits that then build a foundation for more understanding and deeper understanding in the general community of enthusiasts or legislators or people that don't have PhDs in cannabis science.
No doubt. Yeah. Jordan, how about you? Got a high note?
I do have a high note. I mean, I think, was it last week I talked about being a big garage guy?
Yes.
I love the garage, but really I think it's more fundamentally I love being outside, and this time of year really just makes me feel so like refreshed. I mean, it's spring, it's renewal, it's new life, but it's like you don't realize how much you miss the sun until that sun just like beams down on you. And then so my my high note is yesterday I left work and stopped at the garden center and picked up like 200 pounds of just dirt. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It's bags of dirt. But like, to me, that's gardening. That's getting my hands black with dirt. That's getting the potential for growth of like, I'm not even growing cannabis this year. I'm just growing vegetables. It's peppers and tomatoes and herbs. So I just get really, really stoked on renewal at this time of year. So happy springtime.
Brian Jones would be proud. Be happy for you.
Yep. I love that guy.
That just about covers it. We had a relatively shorter show today, but thank you so much to everybody who stuck around and listened. Tanner will be back next week. We've got a special 420 episode that we're recording. And if you don't catch this before then, have a phenomenal 420. It's going to be a fun weekend. The weather's improving. Kendrick Lamar will be in town. I wonder if he'll pop out at Modest.
That'd be cool.
You never know. But, Kendrick Lamar, SZA in town. I got my Modest hoodie on.
You want to hear something funny?
What's that?
I once smoked with SZA before SZA was SZA.
Really?
She was still a big act or whatever, but I can't remember what year this was, but she was performing at Afropunk, and she was wandering around the crowd with a Cheech and Chong T-shirt on.
Yeah. Was this in Minneapolis?
No, it was in Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, wow.
At Afropunk Music Festival.
Okay.
And my girlfriend's like, that's SZA at the time. And so we rushed over and like sparked up a blunt and smoked a blunt with SZA.
Tight.
So it's a small SZA story.
Yeah. I saw her once at the Pizza Luce block party in like 2015 or 2016. It was early on, right? But like, yeah, it's cool to see. And like, to make that kind of connect with the cannabis community is like having that conversation with Steph today. She started working at Global Organics in 2019 as a part-time job. She was a new mom. And to think about the growth that's happened in the last 6 years inside of Minnesota's cannabis industry. And if you stick to it and you move at a measured pace and you keep building and growing, like you'll find success in this industry. It just takes starting with reasonable expectations and then just continuing to grow and evolve from there.
Consistency.
Consistency.
Oh.
That's what I like to say. Well, thanks for sticking around. Make sure you follow the Northern Lights podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn. And, new episodes every Tuesday. We'll see you next week.
Northern Lights is a Minnesota episode was produced by me, Tanner Barris, and by Steve Eigenman and Jordan With. Production assistance from Marcus Harkis, Shayna Payton, and John Barty. Video and audio recording at the Dabbler Depot Studio by Jordan With. The information provided in this podcast does not, and is not intended to, constitute legal advice, but is instead for general information purposes only. No listener should act solely on the basis of information provided without first seeking advice from their own legal counsel. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Minnesota Cannabis College. Please listen responsibly.